Now I am pleased to introduce our presenters for today's webinar. I'm joined today with Laura Lawrence and Tracy DeLeo, who are joining us from Texas, like I said. Laura is the Director for Instructional and Professional Development at Northwest Vista College, and Tracy is an Instructional Technology Specialist at the Alamo Colleges. Laura and Tracy, thank you so much for joining us today. So if you are ready to get started, I can go ahead and share you the screen, and you can tell us a little bit more about yourself and your faculty training courses.
Great. Thank you, Sarah. Hi, everyone. My name is Laura Lawrence, and I'm the Director of Instructional and Professional Development for Northwest Vista College, as you saw on the slide. And that title simply means that I handle all faculty development, training, and management of the online program for my college. And I'm joined today with Tracy DeLeo. Tracy?
Hi, I'm Tracy DeLeo. I am the Instructional Technology Specialist for the Alamo Colleges. I do educational technology, faculty support, and training for all of the colleges in the district since I work at the district offices.
So I'd like to tell you just a little bit about the Alamo Colleges where Tracy and I both work. Alamo Colleges is a district of 5 separate community colleges, all in San Antonio, Texas, with more than 60,000 students and over 3,000 faculty collectively. And I'm not sure if this is true in other states, but in the state of Texas, there is a mandate that says that all syllabi have to be made available to the public online. And so we have had a tool in the past that was developed in-house to allow us to share our syllabi with the public, including students and anyone in the public who would like to see them. But the tool itself was clunky and underutilized. So about a year ago, the Alamo Colleges acquired a new e-syllabus software tool called Concourse. And we actually purchased this in the spring, and then were tasked with very quickly developing training for our approximately 3,000 faculty members, plus the administrators who would be the trainer type people and the administrative support for the tool. So we only had a few weeks to develop the training and really only a few weeks to deliver the training, and it was all going to take place in the summer, which those of you who work in higher ed know that's a really difficult time. Develop this, and how are we going to deliver it? We thought about doing face-to-face training, and some of our colleges actually did this, and if there were faculty members available, they came in and took the training in a classroom with computers. And that was good to some extent, but as I said, a lot of people weren't around over the summer. Some of our colleges developed handouts, and handouts are good too, but handouts can be clunky and they're not environmentally friendly, and it wasn't easy to get them to everybody. You can email lessons out. You can put something on your shared site, such as a SharePoint type site or a repository of handouts, but people feel like they need some sort of personal connection. So we thought we would really like to have the training available in the cloud. How can we put modules in the cloud? Well, we already had a license for Softchalk, and this is something that we encourage faculty to use to develop student lessons. But how could we possibly use this to develop lessons for the faculty? And this was where we came up with the idea of developing the training in Softchalk and delivering it through the cloud. We wanted to make sure that it was available simply by clicking into it, and that it didn't have to be inside of the LMS, because not everyone uses the LMS, not everyone is familiar with the LMS. And adjunct faculty especially, or faculty who are not located on campus, have a difficult time sometimes getting into the sites that are behind the portal or that are behind separate logins. So by putting it in the cloud, it was something that was very simple to do and required very little on the part of the users to get into it and begin using it. So here's what we did. We developed the training, the lesson, in the Softchalk cloud, and we put it inside of what we call ACES. This is our Luminous portal, and I believe Tracy's going to show that to you right now. And this is the portal that every employee has access to. Every employee also has an employee tab, whether they're faculty or an IT person, a secretary, everyone has an employee tab. So we put 2 links in the employee tab. We put one link that actually takes people to the tool itself, and we put one link to the training. And then all we really needed to do was notify everybody where to find this. So by putting the link in there, it made it very easy for people to access, and we encouraged them to open the training and open the actual site at the same time so that they could toggle back and forth. Our job then was to notify everybody how to get into this. So we sent out emails, gave them the links to the training. We put it on our websites. For example, in my college, we have a distance learning page that has a tab for faculty resources. And we put it right there on the faculty resources page. It's not technically distance learning, but it is online training, and so we thought people might look there for it. We have Facebook pages. We put it on there. We talked about it at chairs meetings. Anything that we could think of to get the word out that said, here's the training, here's where it is, here's how to get to it. So at this point, I would like to actually turn the webinar over to my colleague Tracy, and she's going to show you the training that we developed for the faculty on how to use this new e-syllabus tool.
Thanks, Laura. So I'm basically just going to walk you through the course, show you kind of what we did and how we did it, and you'll hear me mention a number of times how easy it was. Laura mentioned that we have a license for Softchalk at our institution. She and I had both used Softchalk a little bit in the past, but this was my first time especially really building something somewhat complicated with it. And so, you know, the first thing we wanted to do was we wanted to make sure that it was something, you know, aesthetically pleasing, a little bit interactive. We didn't include any activities in the course, but we easily could have. But this is the front page of it, and this just utilizes one of the templates that are available in Softchalk. And if you've used Softchalk before, and a number of you have, you might have seen this template, or the fact that there's a whole bunch of them to choose from. They don't, you know, require you to download anything special or to be a design expert. You just pick a template and go. And one of the options you have is to have this table of contents be the home page, and so this is what it looks like. And this is all set up sort of automatically by the headings you create in each page. And one of the things we wanted to make sure we did was, as I said, we wanted to be aesthetic, and faculty students are just like any other students. They don't want a bunch of text to be thrown at them. They want it to be a little bit engaging. So we tried to make sure we had some images on each page, and this is just the first page of our course. And again, if you've used Softchalk or if you haven't, you notice that there's the contents link at the top. There's navigation buttons for every page in the course. So you can skip around if you've come into the course and gotten through, say, page 5, and you want to come back in later and remember where you're at. It's very easy to navigate around the course. And then, of course, there's the next page and previous page links at the bottom. Again, you know, a use of a graphic just to give a little bit of visual interest. And one of the things I did in the course in a number of pages, and this is a good example of it. Let me scroll down a little bit and pause. This is this box that says added by faculty. I wanted them to focus on the things that they were going to need to add to their e-syllabus. So I just created a one-cell table, easy enough to do, added a little background color and a little bit of color to the border just to make it pop a little bit so that it would catch their eye. And then I used a little bit of a different font color. I was just reading something this morning about not using obnoxious red when you want something to stand out to your viewers. So I must have known that because I used purple instead. And as Laura mentioned, as we started this, putting together this training and all the documentation for the Concourse tool, each of the colleges was kind of putting together some materials as they went. And one of the things they did at one college was to create sort of a crosswalk between our previous homegrown e-syllabus tool and Concourse, because they thought that would be very useful for the admins and the faculty as they moved from one tool to the next. And I just recreated it here as a table. Again, very easy to do. And then you'll start to see sort of my step-by-step instructions. Use a lot of screen captures. This was all, pretty much everything in this course was done with free or cheap materials, tools that are available out there. These screen captures, it was just doing a print screen capture, putting it in Paint, which is, the free, easy tool that comes with the Windows operating system, and then using some red circles or some arrows to highlight the things that I wanted to draw the user's eye to. So there's a number of the screen captures throughout the course, which, I kind of feel like the more the better, because it shows them exactly what they're seeing when they're in the tool, what they're looking at. And as Laura mentioned, if they have, especially if they have dual monitors, if they're lucky enough to have that set up, they can have this training course open on one side and the actual Concourse tool open on the other and be working on their syllabus. Again, we've got all the different screen captures, a nice little arrow there. And I'm trying to scroll slowly so you guys can kind of see everything. Here's an example, again, of just putting in some little color and a hint that this is something that the person should focus on as they're going through the training. And so I have a couple of these little fun fact boxes, and I was laughing as we rehearsed this because, is it really a fun fact? Not necessarily, but hey, it makes them look at it, right? So then below that, you'll see this is the first of a number of videos that I created. They're just screencasts to show step-by-step how to do certain things that I thought might benefit from that. So I'm going to play a little bit of this video. Notice, again, I just created a one-cell table to frame this, but the little movie camera icon shows up whenever you add a media file to your Softchalk module. So that wasn't something I had to go find a picture for. That's just there automatically. And then this is a link to the video that I uploaded. So hopefully you guys were able to hear that a little bit. It was kind of quiet for me, so I apologize if you weren't able to hear it. But this video and the other videos in the course, I created them using a tool called Screencast-O-Matic, and there's a free version of it available. A lot of people have used Jing for that kind of short screencasting, but I like Screencast-O-Matic better because it's got a couple of extra editing features, a couple more ways that you can save your file, which is nice. And I actually put up a big $15 for the Pro version, and that's for a year. And that allowed me to remove the watermark that appears in the free version. And they actually came out pretty nicely. And again, I apologize if it was quiet, but the audio came through pretty good, and I just created the audio using the same Bluetooth headset I'm using right now to talk to you guys. So it really was not difficult. And as Laura mentioned, we were on this short time frame, and so we have available to us some much more robust and expensive screencasting kind of tools, but I was not already using them, and so I went with what I could do quick and fast, and it worked out pretty well. so let me move on from there. Again, you'll see more of these nice screen captures that we did to make sure everybody knew where they needed to be and what they needed to look at. And these are just, you know, snippets, little images that I captured and put in there. And I'm going through this relatively quickly because I don't expect that you're interested in how to use Concourse, that you're really just wanting to see how we built this and some of the points of interest. In this page, you'll notice, if you look at the top, this step 5, adding information, I wanted to refer to another page in the Softchalk guide, step 7. And that was easily done with bookmarks within the course. And so I set up a bookmark so they could skip ahead a couple of pages, and you'll see those again later in this. And you know, I'll mention, if you don't have any HTML coding background at all, Softchalk is very easy to use. But if you happen to have some knowledge or some skills, there is a way to sort of switch over to the code view if you want to make any tweaks that way. And I find that very useful, having some of that knowledge, because sometimes, you know, something may not be looking exactly like you wanted it to. Maybe your bullets are misaligned or some text is not cooperating. And if you can switch over and clean it up a little bit, it's nice. So I'll just put that out there. I know a lot of our faculty, you know, say, don't talk to me about HTML, but I know some people have those skills and they like to be able to use them now and again, even though everything has become so user-friendly that you mostly don't have to. And here you'll see I've got another video. I'm not going to show this, but just to see that I use kind of the same motif throughout, so that people going through the training would start to see that little, you know, orange border and go, oh, it's video time again. On this page, when I get to the bottom, and again, trying to show you a little bit of it without letting you read it, here you'll see I've got some guides from Concourse linked on this page. And one of the reasons why we chose to kind of create this training all on our own is that Concourse has a support site, and they've got some good guides and videos, but a lot of them are not pertinent to the Alamo colleges because we did do some customization of our interface. So we didn't want to confuse people by having them reading guides that referred to things that maybe we couldn't necessarily do. And so I did choose a couple that I thought were particularly good, and I linked them here. So it's easy enough to link external files as well as linking to other places within the module. More of those screencasts, more of those screen captures, can't go wrong with those. Another fun fact that I threw in there, again, I don't know how fun this is, but it does catch the eye. And then another one of the videos, again, using the same little box so that they know that it's time for a video. And on this page, I also, again, used a link to an external source. Canvas is our LMS, and we thought maybe faculty would want to use an embed feature to bring their Concourse syllabus into their Canvas course. So here I'm just linking to a guide that's available from Canvas. And another video, I believe that's the last of the videos. And then we get to the finishing up page, just reminding them to log out. And then there were a couple more pages here that were kind of important, I thought, to this whole thing. One of the things that we loved most once we got this thing built was realizing how easy it was to make updates and corrections on the fly. Some people would, you know, once they started getting into the training, they had some questions that I added to the FAQ, and people started kind of recommending best practices. So it was that easy to just go in, update it. You know, when you do it this way, You're not having to change a document and send it back out to everyone. You're not having to even change the URL and send them a new URL. It's still the same link. It's just I've made an update behind the scenes. So that was really nice. And you see on the best practices page here, again, all I did was grab some black and white icons off of the web, sites that had free icons, copyright free, not infringing anything, and built a little table and used some, formatting, and it really turned out pretty nicely. And you'll see I have links within the course, again, those bookmarks, and then also links to external sites. And then here's our FAQ page. Again, this sort of grew as we went because people started to do the training and started to work in Concourse and came up with some great ideas that we were able to share in here. One thing I'll point out in here is that we wanted to make sure that we gave all the contact information for people who were our syllabus experts, for people who are our admins, our technical admins for Concourse. But I've got the link here in the last Q&A, the information for myself, so that if they saw anything in this training that they thought needed to be corrected or added to, that they could let me know. So all of that information is available. And then the very last page, one more opportunity to link out to the Concourse support site, to some of their videos, and then links to all of our college help desks, because we do have IT help desk at each college as well as the district IT help desk. And each of these entities was providing a little bit of support for Concourse, so we made that information available. And then you'll notice here the printable Concourse guide for faculty. One of the colleges, as I mentioned, everybody was kind of developing some tools here and there on their own for doing the training. And one of them created a very nice, rather concise guide that's shorter than this training module we put together. But I thought it was a good thing to add in case somebody wanted something that they could just print out and have available. And if I click on it, you'll see it just opens as a PDF, and they could print it out. It's 5 pages. So that's a nice resource, and that was just uploading a file into Softchalk, and there it is. So it's so easy to do these kinds of things. And then you see a just little acknowledgement about when it was built, how it was built, who contributed to it. But also at the very bottom of every page in the course, you see the date last modified. And sometimes people might want to know when it was last updated, whether it's out-of-date information or fairly recent. And so that just happens automatically when you build a module in the cloud. And also talking about printing, if I go back up to the top, one of the options when you're building your Softchalk module is to allow for the print all option. And what this does is sort of smushes it all together in one big long stream, so that if someone wants to print out the whole training course, which some people did, then they can do it this way, and it sort of condenses the pages and lets them do it in one shot instead of going to page 1 and printing it, and then page 2 and printing it, and so forth and so on. And that's basically the end of the faculty training that we built. But I want to point out a couple of other things. Oops, excuse me. So we also had an administrator version of this guide, and it was actually the first one that we put together because the admins for Concourse at all the colleges have some different privileges. They have some different fields that they fill in. So this might be departmental secretaries adding textbook information, or other people putting in institutional policies, that kind of thing. So we did an admin version first, and then we literally made a copy of it in the Softchalk cloud, and then we took that and made the tweaks to it and changed it up. And I'll show you a little bit of this to show you that here's a page that probably looks familiar to you from 10, 15 minutes ago, because it was the identical page we used. But when I go to the next page, you see that here, this is some very different information, because this is information that the admins needed that the faculty did not. So we were able to just take that page out of the faculty version. Again, a page that you've seen before. And then it kind of goes on from there. And talking about the ease of making updates, Laura actually just the other day added this whole section because it was something that had sort of come up last semester when we went live, but really wasn't something that people were doing. And now for the spring semester, as we're gearing up again, it's the week before classes and all the faculty are in there, working on their syllabi, and everyone's kind of having to juggle the changes to instructors for some of the classes. So she was able to go in and put this together quickly, and again, everybody already had the link to the training course, so they were able to just go in there and see that. And then one last thing that I will point out is, we did this for all the reasons that Laura mentioned, but as it turned out, it worked pretty well, at least for us building it, and we got some good feedback, so we think it was good. But I decided it might be useful to use this for a number of other tools that we need to train people on. We're going more and more toward the online training. So I did another one for BioSig, which is a tool that we're integrating into our Canvas environment. We're just getting started with it. And I'll briefly show you a couple of pages here. Again, I used that same template because it occurred to me that why not make them somewhat uniform so that they all kind of follow the same format and template. And that way, if people have used one, anything that people are familiar with seems to be easier to get them to go through it again. So again, just putting in pages, very similar setup. This video isn't working, and I won't talk about why. But here we've got screencasts again and tables to create the visual interest. And it was just, so easy to do because I had already done all the work on the other one. And I suspect I'm going to be using this again in some of our future training courses online. And at this point, I'm going to send it on back to Laura, and she's going to talk about some final thoughts.
Thanks, Tracy. Well, some final thoughts about how well did this work and what did we learn from it, because it was our first time ever trying to use a student lesson tool to develop training for faculty. First of all, as I mentioned at the very beginning, we have about 3,000 faculty in the Alamo colleges, and as of yesterday, our training module had been accessed 3,018 times. So I would venture a guess to say that most of our faculty have indeed visited the training and have been through it. And so that's very, very positive for us, because you can imagine with a very small staff, we would have had a really hard time trying to get that many people trained face-to-face. So we know that they're out there. We know that they're using it. Another sort of negative statistic is that once we made the training available, we had very, very few people contacting us for walk-in help or other kinds of help, such as phone calls and emails. For example, at my college, Northwest Vista College, we offered 1-hour training sessions the whole first week of the semester. And we had 0 enrollments. 0 people came for those face-to-face sessions. So we know that they're using the online training and that they didn't even need to come in. Another benefit that we found is that Softchalk is available to all of our faculty. We do have a license for anyone in the Alamo colleges to use it to develop student lessons, but it wasn't being used very much, mostly because people didn't really know what it was or what it was capable of doing. So now that they are taking a Softchalk course, so to speak, or a lesson, as a pseudo student, they're actually seeing what it is and what it can do, and that gives a nice amount of exposure on Softchalk to the faculty so that maybe they can think about using it for their own classes. And finally, another benefit is that we've been seeing more and more of the required trainings that are offered in our district going into an online format. And we do have a content management system that's used for that. But here was another type of a system that we were able to use to move the training online and then align with the other kinds of mandatory trainings, the things that you all have to go through as well, things like annual safety awareness and annual sexual harassment prevention training, those kinds of things. We're seeing those all go online, so why not train our online software tools online as well? We did get a little bit of feedback from the faculty who had been through the training, and the quote that you see on the screen there is just a typical one when someone had said, do I need to come in for training for this? And I replied to let him know that, no, it's okay, you can just do it all online. And he wrote back and said, what a relief, even a technologically challenged individual like me should be able to manage. And he was. I'm glad to say that he did not have to come in and get training all by himself. So that was great. So we have had some very, very good positive feedback. Now we've found that one problem, potential problem in using something like Softchalk by itself is that you can't track who the actual users are, who has actually gone through the training and who hasn't. So if any of you are thinking about using Softchalk for training for something that's mandatory, for example, something that people have to complete in order to be promotable or to be tenured or to meet annual HR type requirements, if you're thinking about using Softchalk Cloud for something like that, you need to embed it inside of something else. For example, if you put it inside of your LMS and have people go to a course that's in your LMS, then you can track who has accessed it. Or you could put a question at the end, for example, something like, did you find this training useful? Or do you have any suggestions for improvement? And that way when individuals answer the question, you can tell that they've completed the course. So Softchalk itself, because this is a cloud link, this is a public course, it doesn't track who the users are. So that's just something to keep in mind, that if you are going to build the training and you have to track who's used it or how many actual uses it's had, then you'll need to embed that in something else. Your talent management system may be able to do that, or you may be able to tie it into your SIS. But that would vary from institution to institution depending on what kinds of tools you have. So those are really all of the things that we were planning to show you today, and I see that we do have some other questions coming in. And I guess we will go ahead and go to question and answer. I think one thing that looks like from your questions has been a little bit confusing is this. The faculty do not use Softchalk to develop their syllabi. They use the new tool called Concourse, at least here at the Alamo colleges. They use Concourse to develop their syllabi. We use Softchalk to develop the training to teach people how to use Concourse. Now, one of the members of this webinar mentioned that they do have some people at their college who do use Softchalk to develop the syllabi. And that's great, that's wonderful. But Softchalk's not primarily a syllabus development tool. Another person said that they've trained faculty how to use Softchalk in as little as 2 hours. That's fabulous. That's, you know what I think would be really cool? Would be develop a Softchalk lesson on how to use Softchalk. James Brown, I think you could be the person to do that. That's the person who mentioned they can train faculty in 2 hours. What else can we answer for anyone out there? If you want to go ahead and just type your questions into either the question and answer area or the chat area, we'll try to answer your questions.
I did notice one question from Marie. She asked, have you ever inserted media or a video as an iframe into a table and have it work okay?
Tracy?
I did not do that in this Softchalk course. I don't recall whether I've tried to do that in the past. I know it's something that I've played with in our LMS because a lot of people seem to want to do that. It's kind of tricky, but no, I have not done it in Softchalk. I just opted to use the insert media feature and let it be that little link that opens outside. The one thing I did actually, in the BioSig course, I did put in a video, but honestly, I don't remember how I did it.
And then I see a question from Connie. She's asking, what platform do you use for your talent management system? I'm not sure if maybe you meant learning management system or no, or Laura, you answered that in the panel.
Connie, I think Connie did mean our talent management system.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to have to look it up for you. We call it something different. You know how many colleges and universities label it with their own name. We call it Alamo Learn. I'll need to look on the back side and find out what it's actually called, what the product is. But I can provide that before we log off today, and that way it'll be in the notes for everyone, or I can send it privately to anyone who wants me to send that to them.
I believe it's Cornerstone, but don't quote me on that.
Actually, that sounds right. I think that is right, and I hope that that sounds right to you, Connie. Tracy, someone asked if we can show a change to a page. Would it be too difficult to bring up the editing screen at this time and show how to change a page?
The way I always do it is to open it in Softchalk Create, which itself is not in the cloud. It is a piece of software that downloads to your machine. And so it would kind of probably mess up my screen sharing if I tried to open that at that point. But, this gives me an opportunity to say that the Softchalk webinars that are designed to teach how to use the tool have been extremely valuable to me. I'll just put in a plug, Sarah. I hope you don't mind.
Of course.
But I probably sat through 3 or 4 of them to get the skills that I needed. And so, if you take those, watch those recordings or sit through those webinars, that's going to teach you all the good stuff.
Thanks, Tracy. Yeah, and we do have an introductory webinar for Softchalk coming up on January 22nd. If anyone is interested in registering for that, you can just go to softchalk.com. Under Learn More, you can see all of our webinars listed. I noticed one other question that you might be able to answer, Tracy. Is it possible to use a picture figure diagram to become clickable in an activity for Softchalk? I'm not sure if you've played around with that feature or not.
I have not. I have created activities in the past using the activities that are set up inside Softchalk, and I've done things like there's some sorting activities that I really like, but a clickable kind of map thing I have not done, so I can't give you the technical specs on whether that's possible or how to do it. I'm sorry.
That's okay, and Softchalk does have features to create diagrams as well as text poppers and quizzes and things like that. So I believe the answer to your question is yes. And I did notice one other question, or it might have been answered already.
Sarah, it looks like several people are asking about compatibility between Softchalk and various learning management systems such as Desire to Learn and Blackboard. We use Canvas here at the Alamo Colleges and haven't had any integration problems between those two that I'm aware of, but maybe you could address that further.
Yes, and Softchalk is compatible with virtually any LMS. The ones that were mentioned in the questions panel, Blackboard, D2L, Softchalk is compatible with all of those learning management systems.
And I will say that I've worked with some faculty who have used Softchalk lessons embedded in their Canvas course, and the activities, they feed back to the gradebook very nicely, so it has worked well for us in our learning management system.
Great, yeah, that's really good to know.
Can I jump in and talk a little bit? There's several questions, and I'm sorry. And Laura talked a little bit about why we are using Concourse, the e-syllabus tool. Several people have said, why aren't you using Softchalk for the e-syllabus, but also why aren't you using XYZ for syllabi? And I'll just kind of reiterate what Laura said at the very beginning. This was sort of a mandate from the state to make syllabi within, I think it's within 3 clicks of your college homepage. And so what the Concourse tool allows us to do is to put that all up there in a very nice standardized way. Faculty are still creating their syllabi in Word, or they're putting it in their Canvas course, or they're doing it a variety of different ways, but Concourse allows us to standardize it.
I noticed that there were also some questions about embedding the different kinds of activities that are available in Softchalk. There are things like test yourself or crossword puzzle, that sort of thing. And of course, those are great tools, especially if you're doing a student lesson. But we felt that for this particular lesson of just training faculty how to use a particular software system, we didn't want anyone to feel like they were being bogged down with those kinds of activities. We just really wanted to get the information out there. For a student lesson, though, I can say as someone who's used it in my student classes that those kinds of things are excellent. They're wonderful. I especially know that the students love the little check yourself, where you give them one new concept and then they see if they got it, and yet it's not any actual points. Or you can make it worth points if you want, but they love that. We just didn't put any of those in the faculty training course. It looks like a lot of you out there use Softchalk in a lot of different ways. I guess that's why you're part of this Softchalk Innovators series, and it's so great to be reading your questions here about the different things that you use it for as well. Sounds like a lot of different uses out there.
I do notice one question. I'm not sure if we answered this or not, but Barbara was asking, can you connect the lesson to your SunGuard product if you need to verify that someone has taken the training? I know you said that you can't track individual users. Barbara, was your question answered? If not, if you can expand on it a little bit, we would be happy to answer that for you.
Our SunGuard product is what we call ACES,
Mm-hmm.
and that is where we have people log in through, but we don't track through that. So that might be an oversimplified answer to your question, but no, we don't track the logins or the hits or anything like that through the SunGuard product.
If I can jump back in for a second, I was able to open up the Softchalk Create software. So if we want to go back to actually showing a real-time change, I can probably accomplish that.
Yeah, Tracy, if you,
great, Tracy.
Yeah, that would be great.
Okay, can you guys see the Softchalk Create box on your screen?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm just going to, and this of course is the page that we're looking at in our presentation, which in case you haven't noticed, it was built in Softchalk as well. So I can just make a change here. Just give myself a new title. And then I'm saving this to the cloud. And hopefully, fingers crossed, that this doesn't take too long. And then I can show you, I can just refresh my screen and show you how easy it was. Be cooperative, computer. Okay, the lesson has been saved. Okay, good. Let me move that out of the way. And then I'll refresh this page. And that takes me back to the contents page, but that's all right. And there you go. Now I'm the director of awesomeness, and it took me like 30 seconds. So
I think if you all agree, Tracy rocks. Tracy absolutely rocks. She is the director of awesomeness, and she does do things that quickly. So thank you for all of you who are saying in your comments and your questions that you like that too. Yes, you can copy that title if you like. You all can be your college's directors of awesomeness too. Love it.
I think you are both awesome.
Thank you.
And again, if anyone has any questions, it seems like we've answered all of the questions that were typed into the panel, either verbally or through typing it. But if anyone else has questions, we still have a little bit more time if you want to go ahead and type those in.
Again, we have one more question there that said, in the editing mode, can knowledge checks be incorporated? Yes, absolutely. Any of those kinds of activities can be easily incorporated. We just didn't put them in because our audience was faculty. But yes, those are very easy to include.
And then I see a question from Penny. She's saying, as district e-learning specialists, we often make Softchalk lessons in which local media specialists in turn download to customize, reuse. Do you track, is there a way to track the number of downloads? I can answer that question very briefly that yes, Softchalk does track the number of downloads in Softchalk Cloud. Tracy and Laura, do you have anything to add to that?
No, only that yes, I had noticed that as well. I have opened the Softchalk Cloud, and I may be able to actually, let me see if I can drag this over. So what you're
Yes.
looking at here, if you can see this on your screen, this is the information in my Softchalk Cloud about the Concourse for Faculty course that I was showing earlier. And this does show the views, which have gone up from that 3,018 from yesterday, and then the number of downloads and copies. And, you know, I honestly don't know who's downloading or copying this, but I'm okay with that. Maybe is there a way to know that, to know who has copied it?
I don't think there's a way to know who has copied it unless you might be able to search for the name of your lesson in the cloud and just see if other people have made edits or have used any of your content in their own lessons, if they have made those lessons public in the cloud as well. But it unfortunately doesn't give you names or anything like that of who has actually downloaded or copied the lesson.
Right.
But any public learning object in the cloud is available for anyone to go in and copy it and make changes to it and use it as their own if you have made your lesson public.
One final quick thing I'd like to mention that Tracy mentioned earlier, and that is that this idea of innovation, using one tool for something other than maybe what it was primarily intended. I hope you've noticed that our quote-unquote slideshow today was not PowerPoint slides or any of the other various tools that are available out there like Prezi. We actually made our slides, in quote, in Softchalk. So there's another use for it. So save your institution some money. If you already have a license, think about other ways to use the tools that you already have, and you will be forever happily greeted if you're the person who found a way to save the institution some money by using a tool in another way.
I agree. That was very innovative. I loved seeing that you created the actual slideshow in Softchalk, and very fitting for an Innovators, an online learning webinar. So it looks like we've answered all of the questions. If there's any last-minute questions, feel free to type them in the panel. Thank you, everyone, for joining us, and thank you so much, Laura and Tracy. This was great and very informative, and from the comments and everything, I think everyone really enjoyed the presentation, and we really appreciate you doing this for us again. And do either of you have any closing remarks? If not, I can take back the screen and show them how they can learn more.
We would just like to thank everyone for attending, and if you wish to contact either of us, our contact information is there on the screen, and we would be happy to be in touch with you and share your innovations as well.
And I'll just add to that, thank you, Sarah, for having us. to do this presentation, and I believe Sarah has a slide with my real title because I'm not going to bother changing it back. I kind of like being Director of Awesomeness, but that is my actual email address and phone number on the screen, and we are more than willing to chat with any of you about any questions you have.
Great, thank you. And I will go ahead and take the screen back and share this final slide. So again, Laura and Tracy, they shared their email addresses and contact information on their slide, but here it is again. And I just wanted to say thank you again to Laura and Tracy for presenting for us, and thank you everyone for joining us. If you want to learn more about Softchalk, you can email us at learnmore@softchalk.com. Go to our website, www.softchalk.com, and sign up for any of our intro webinars or short courses. And look for more innovators and online learning webinars to come. And so thank you again for joining us, and I hope everyone has a great day.